Lieutenant General Munazi said that you were part of a criminal syndicate, right? You don't seek to respond to that in your affidavit. Is there any reason?
No. I believe it was all based on his belief, erroneous belief, that I was leaking out of the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. That indeed would be a criminal act.
Okay.
But of course it didn't exist.
Okay. He went a bit further when he was pressed, and I think during not cross-examination, but when he was engaged by one of the MPs. And there was also some expectation that he was going to give an apology. I think it was in the morning, and then he didn't. And then he specifically said, and unfortunately, Chair, I don't know, Parliament does not have the recordings of the late night testimonies that we had. So it cuts off, but he was very clear where he said, do not force us to release footage, recordings, and pictures. And that would put you in a compromising engagements as a member of Parliament. He said that in this committee. Do you remember that?
Yes, he made many threats.
I don't know if that was necessarily a threat. He just said, don't force us to. I don't think that's a threat if he's saying he's releasing information. A threat is more on someone's life. But let's park that. We take it that you see that as, why would you say that he would respond like that under oath, given his vast experience in SAPS, just be angry and say something like that if he does not have some sort of information that could be released?
In that vein, we could also ask why he would choose to hold his press conference.
But we ask in the...
No, I'm saying it's a very similar situation. You can ask that and one can surmise, but it has to come out of his own mouth. I can't...
You don't have any assessment on that? You didn't like diagnose the situation on why is this Lieutenant General saying this about me? And why he was extremely adamant about it.
He was adamant because I think he believed I belonged to the Joint Standing Committee and was leaking information. Perhaps he thought I leaked this thing to this journalist person, which of course I did not do, as I knew nothing about it.
You said you lodged a complaint against him when he was the acting National Police Commissioner to the Public Protector. Did I miss that? What was that regarding and what was the outcome?
There were 4 issues and she sat on that for many months, and I would write and say, could you give me feedback? What is happening? And eventually she decided and wrote to me saying she's decided to send the matter to the Inspector General of Intelligence, another lady who was the first one in our democracy. So it went there. I never heard another word because things go there and they disappear. So I don't know what the outcome was, but they were very concerning. I know I sent 4 affidavits from various police, 6 affidavits from various police to the Public Protector with a lot of other information. And she decided it was best dealt with by the Inspector General of Intelligence of that period.
Do you want to tell us what the matters were regarding? Can you tell us?
I thought there was a copy of the article somewhere. There were 4 issues that I raised. I can find it. Just give me a moment, please. I'm happy to dig it up for you.
And perhaps as you dig it out, if you are able to multitask, tell us why you didn't lodge it with iPad and you went to the Public Protector.
I felt it was so egregious that it actually included items that were out of the purview of the iPad. At the time when he was removed, he wrote or was quoted as saying he believed he was thrown out because he was fighting corruption. Certainly he fought Richard Mdluli unsuccessfully, as did many of us. And that may well be the case. We have seen people who fight against corruption in the SAPS targeted over and over and over and gotten rid of, fired, removed, set up, fake stories told about them. We've seen that. So I don't doubt what he said at all. in that regard.
So maybe our evidence leaders can look for that in the meantime. So in the interest of time, you spoke when you started quite extensively, I think about a good 10 minutes, senior counsel led evidence about you speaking on corruption, specifically around procurement. This is just sort of just a general question. Is there any government department, entity, whether it's national, provincial, local, that is immune to the issue of corruption, particularly around procurement?
No.
My colleague touched on the issue of Paul O'Sullivan. Obviously, we can never let that name out of our mouths. When was your last communication with him?
Gosh. Some years ago, I can't recall.
Have you ever shared information with him about parliamentary processes and oversight, or collaborated with him on any matters?
No.
Did you rely on his information or analysis?
No.
Over the years, when you were communicating with him during those 7 years?
No, but I can't remember as far back as the Pakhlane issue. I read that he felt he was instrumental in jailing Jackie Salebi. That was when I first came onto the portfolio. So he's been the person who he claims is fighting corruption within the SAPS from as long as I've heard of his name.
Then do you think he is, or he's trying to capture SAPS?
No, I think that's what he does.
You think he is doing that? Do you think he's doing it at the expense of actually people who are elected in our criminal justice system?
I've never quite worked out what his motivation is for doing what he does, but he's a forensic investigator. He investigates.
How do you know that he's actually a forensic investigator?
I read what he says his business is on the internet. I've never checked that that's what he does. So I can't help you there.
Oh, okay. And then any of his associates, Sarah Jane Trent, there's also a Candice woman. Have you had any engagements with them?
No, I don't know them.
Okay. Then Robert McBride, that's also been touched on as well. Have you ever engaged with him prior to committee meetings, etc., on, you know, how matters should be positioned or how you should respond?
No, I've never met him outside of a committee or outside of his offices when the committee would go to his offices.
Okay.
I don't know
guess
in
the
person.
question I'm asking specifically is that, have you ever been lobbied by anybody in the criminal justice system, officials, before they appear before Parliament on a particular position? Don't allow this, or let's push this agenda.
No, it's a good question, but nobody has ever come to me. I don't know that they know. If they did, it would be on the front page.
Okay. The other famous name on the committee, Sibia. You've been supportive, or were you supportive of his appointment as the Deputy National Commissioner?
I have to tell you, I was shocked at the revelations that came out. I had no idea what was really going on. I've been shocked by a number of police, one of whom I thought she may be the next National Police Commissioner. And was I ever wrong? She was arrested, as was every family member, for intense corruption. So I am very skeptical of every single person these days, because I realize that it's very difficult these days to believe that someone is actually honest and honorable.
So when you were at that point before these shocking revelations, when you were supportive of his appointment, what informed that? What was it about him that you thought he would be the Deputy National Commissioner that South Africans deserve?
I never welcomed his promotion to that position. I didn't really have much information about him. I was told he was a good cop. Well,
by who?
General people speaking. And I never had an intimation that there was anything underhanded about what he did. I believed he was a good cop. There are many, 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 many good cops. And I was quite shaken to hear what has come out of the various proceedings.
So what hope, Honorable Khaled Barnett, do you think we have? Because you have been serving on these committees for such a long time. And you are shocked that someone like Sipia, so you've been serving on these committees, you've been getting reports for these years over and over again, and we can make wrong calls about somebody or about officials just in general.
It's a situation today that's affecting the entire country, where people will sit in front of us and say things you patently know are incorrect. So, I mean, we have no forensic investigators. We have no investigators on this committee. We have no detectives who can investigate. So we are
I
having
hope you're listening, Chair.
Yes.
And our speaker, yes, sorry. Continue.
And so we have got to come up with decisions on whether or not something we are simply told with no proof is true or not. It's a very difficult position that we find ourselves in. So yeah, I am skeptical, and I'm saddened that basically I can only really talk about the police. I'm not an expert on defense or on justice, or even correctional services. I don't deal with those matters, but what I read is horrendous. And I really think that this country's got to shake things up and get things straight and start appointing only on merit, because we've got too many buddy-buddy situations going on throughout all of those entities.
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mathaisa. Honorable Breitenbach, when you went out